Have you ever gotten that feeling that there's, I don't know, an invisible game being played all around you? In the office, with your friends, even in families. Well, you're not wrong. There is. It's the game of power. And we're about to dive into Robert Greene's incredible guide that basically lays out all the unwritten rules of this timeless and often pretty ruthless game.
And yeah, this quote from a general way back in the 2nd century, it sets the tone perfectly, doesn't it? This isn't about being nice or playing fair. It's about understanding the cold, hard reality of how power works. It's a pretty stark way to kick things off, but it gets you in the right headspace for the world we're about to explore.
So, where do you even start in this game? Well, it all begins with perception. The very first move in the whole power playbook is about controlling how other people see you. Why? Because in this game, what people believe is true is almost always more important than what's actually true.
Okay, let's look at our first case study, a woman named Mata Hari. She shows up in Paris with basically nothing to her name, but somehow manages to create this absolutely captivating persona seemingly out of thin air. So how on earth did she do it?
Mata Hari essentially weaponized mystery. Look, she wasn't the best dancer in Paris, and she might not have been the most beautiful woman, but she was without a doubt the most enigmatic. She totally understood a core principle of power. Scarcity creates value. By never fully revealing herself, she made people desperate to know more. She proved that the things we can't quite figure out, well, that's what we end up valuing the most.
Now let's flip the script and look at a completely different tactic, one that's just as effective. While Mata Hari used absence and mystery, the Roman general Julius Caesar, well, he did the exact opposite. He used overwhelming presence and public theater.
Caesar got that there was this undeniable link between power and performance. Every single time he appeared in public, it was a carefully staged event. From his dramatic speeches to those spectacular robes, he was constantly crafting this image of a leader who was just larger than life. He showed everyone that power isn't just something you have, it's something you perform.
So here you have two completely opposite methods, right? But they're both driving toward the exact same goal. Whether you create value through scarcity, like Mata Hari, or through a huge spectacle like Caesar, the point is this: you are actively shaping how you are perceived. You are not leaving it up to chance.
All right, so once you've gotten a handle on your image, what's the next stage? It's all about controlling the story. This is about the power of information, how you use it, when you hide it, and yeah, how you ultimately use it to deceive.
Let's take a look at the master showman, P.T. Barnum. He desperately wanted to buy the super prestigious American Museum, but he didn't have the reputation to pull it off. In fact, his rival had already pretty much secured the deal. So what did Barnum do? He figured if he couldn't build up his own reputation in time, he'd just have to destroy his rivals.
Barnum's strategy was, well, simple and brutal. He used the newspapers to plant rumors and cast serious doubt on his rivals' financial stability. As you can imagine, public confidence just collapsed. Their stock tanked, and the whole deal fell apart. And guess who was there to sweep in and buy the museum for a bargain? Yep. It's a perfect, if ruthless, example of using narrative as a weapon.
Okay, so let's shift from public narrative to something a bit more personal, the con. This brings us to a true master of the craft, Joseph Yellow Kid Weil, and a man named Mr. Giesel, who was about to be offered a deal that was, way, way too good to be true. So Weil spins this incredibly elaborate story. He tells Giesel he's part of a group buying a lodge and offers him a piece of the action. But to really seal the deal, he stages this whole drama involving a fixed boxing match. And notice the absurdity here. The so-called promising prize fighter had a beer belly, but Mr. Giesel, totally blinded by greed, just saw dollar signs.
And that is the amount of cash Mr. Giesel willingly handed over, $35,000. He was so caught up in the story, so focused on the easy win he was about to get, that he never stopped for 1 second to question any of it.
You see, the best cons don't just fool the victim. They make the victim an active participant. Weil didn't just tell a story, he played on Giesel's own greed. The target gets so invested in the fantasy, so desperate for the payoff, that they willingly ignore all the red flags right in front of their face.
And that brings us to our final act, the art of psychological warfare. This is where we move beyond image and narrative. This is about winning the battle before it even starts, simply by getting inside your opponent's head.
I want you to imagine this impossible scenario. You are General Zhuge Liang. You've only got a handful of soldiers left, an enemy army of 150,000, led by your incredibly brilliant rival Sima Yi, is marching right for your city. What do you do?
So when Sima Yi's massive army finally arrives, they're greeted by this truly baffling sight. There are no defenses, no soldiers on the walls. Just the city gates, thrown wide open, almost like a welcome. It's completely unnerving. And to make things even weirder, sitting right on top of the city wall, totally exposed, is Zhuge Liang himself. He's not directing some last-ditch defense. He's not preparing to fight to the death. He is calmly and peacefully playing a lute.
Now Sima Yi knows his rival. He knows Liang is a master of deception. And this move is so bizarre, so supremely confident, that it just has to be an elaborate trap. The risk is too great. He orders his entire army to turn around and retreat. Just like that, Liang defeated 150,000 soldiers without a single casualty.
And this just perfectly illustrates the power of being unpredictable. Liang didn't fight the army. He fought his rival's mind. His action was so far outside the bounds of normal military strategy that it created this intense fear and doubt, which ultimately forced his opponent to defeat himself. So, after going through these wild stories of mystery, spectacle, deception, and psychological warfare, what does it all mean? What is the actual takeaway from all this? What's the core playbook for the game of power?
Really, it boils down to these 3 core strategies. First, you have to master how you appear to the world. Then, you learn to control the stories that are being told about you and your rivals. And finally, you use strategic, unpredictable thinking to get that all-important psychological edge.
Now, it's absolutely crucial to understand that this framework, it's a set of tools, not a moral code. Green isn't arguing that these tactics are good or bad. He's just looking back through history and stating with brutal honesty, hey, this is what has worked for people who want power.
At the end of the day, power itself is neutral. It's just this undeniable force in how we all interact with each other. So the real question this leaves us with isn't whether the game exists. It clearly does. It's how you choose to play it, or even if you choose to play it at all. Now that you've seen the rules, what's your next move?